going. So one of the very important thing we wanted to do for today's class is to design a to-do app. A to-do app allows you to just capture information of what you want to do for the day. That requires us to provide an input box and also a button and a section where we can see all the list of information that we want to capture. If you've been following us, you know that we've done bootstrap, we've done HTML, we've done CSS. Now we're in JavaScript. What I want to do is to bring in bootstrap into the platform so that our project can be a little bit nice. So what I want to do is I will just come in here and bring in a very nice template and remove the content. The title of our project is to do app. We want to build an app that's to do. So remove this icon link. This is bootstrap. This is bootstrap JS for JavaScript. For the body, I'm going to remove everything in the body. Remember, this is a template so that we can use to create our app that we want to do. Following this lesson that we've done, we've introduced numbers, we've introduced strings, and we've introduced array. We also introduced if condition last week. If condition. So today we are going to introduce illiteration. So illiteration is a kind of a loop. So I call it illiteration. So it's a loop. So we are introducing loop today. But before we get to the loop, let's build the interface for our app. Again, what did I say we need? I said we need a text box and a button. So let's start by giving our app an interface. How should our app look like? So let's go ahead and start designing. If you are familiar with bootstrap, it will give you a little headway, but just follow through the project. First of all, what I want to do is add our project in a container. So the next thing we want to do is to create a kind of area where we can have what's it called now, our icon, to say what we do, to display our app. So I want to create a section that does that. So inside this, I want to create a section, a region whereby I can have our app displayed. So I have these classes I want to put in there. I want it to be in the center. I want it to be, the background should be tertiary, and then I want the edges to be round. So I will do BG light and style it because I want it to have an effect. We want our design to look good. We just don't want to put what is there to show like that. Okay, so we do our styling. This is CSS now. For those people that know what CSS is all about, CSS cascading style sheet. So I provide our light. The background I want to do for that is something very light. I can just put this color, and I have that there. Okay, let's go with the content. So what should be in the content? What should be in the content? What should be in the content should be the name of the app. So looking at it having H1, and this should be to do app. And we can make this a very big stuff and say display 1 and see. Then on the bottom of the app, we want something that shows what the app does, and then what it does is just simply to capture your daily activities. So we have a CSS for that, so we can do div and say capture your daily activities. So you can see that it's different. It looks beautiful now just by adding Bootstrap. You know, it makes it look good. So this one says capture your daily activities. So let's go to the bottom and start designing the input button. So what we want to do is to have a button here, or rather a text box, a big text box. And I won't put a button. I will say on enter, on key press enter, so that it makes it look cool and clean. So this is our app. So on a button here, on clicking the enter key on my keyboard, it should accept what we've done. So let's go ahead and start capturing the interface for that. So I will go to this section, the bottom. I don't know why my system is lagging. I think my system is lacking some basic memory. Okay, so let's create a kind of distance here. We'll just use so this here, I want to create a distance. I'll say padding or margin top, just give me like 3, then starts to display the form. Provide the form. We don't even need form, we don't even need to declare the form. We can just go ahead and put, since we are not posting anything, what we just want to do is just to capture it. So we do cf input rather. Type is text. The ID is important because remember, that's what we'll be using JavaScript to understand what it is we are doing. The ID is supposed to be so we can say to do. I can say what underscore what to do. That's the name. Class, very important for our Bootstrap to style it properly. Control, form control. And I want a very big text. Let's see what we have in the review. So this is what we have, and you can see how big it is. So it means you can do something like this. Is it big enough? Okay, so yeah, that's okay. I don't want us to waste time on designing. Don't let us waste time on designing. You can go crazy with this. There's endless things you can do with styling and designing, and these are things that can help your app, you know, can help your mobile app different from other apps out there. What I now want to do is to put an hover floating label. So what floating label does is that it allows you to show the text that is there. I'm just going to go to Bootstrap and bring it from there. The way to implement a floating label is to have it wrapped in a div. You specify that this directly from Bootstrap documentation. So you have to specify that there's a floating label that's supposed to be captured there, and the next thing you specify is the label that you want to show. And in this case, what we want to show is what do you want to do? What do you want to do today? And it's for this. And the placeholder, we need to also specify the placeholder. We'll repeat what we have here as the placeholder. This is normal HTML attributes. So if you know HTML, all these things shouldn't be strange to you. So this should be just walk in the park for those of you that know HTML. So let's see what we have, what we end up with. So this is what we end up with. You can see that we now have a well thought out app, kind of, that looks better, appealing to see in the eyes, appealing to look at in the eyes. So you could go all out, you could do so many things. You can change the color of this guy, you know. So let's go ahead and start doing the main thing. I told you guys that what we want to do is when you push the button down, I'm sure you can hear that on my keyboard. So when I press the enter key, I want something to happen. I don't want to do a button. So I want to say go to school. I want to write go to school here, and when I click enter key, it should add it as an event that I should be able to do. How do you capture that on the system? How do you capture that on the system? How do you specify on enter key on the system? Remember that we've been able to do on key press. We've been able to do on an on event. So these are the events that is available. There's nothing like on enter. Let me scroll down. And that's one of the good things you need to know how to use, or rather have in your arsenal, your IDE. Your IDE is very important because it kind of gives you an options on things that you can do. If you are learning, and which I know you guys are, you need something that will make your work easier. So you can see quite a lot of events that you can do on your text box that you have here. These are a lot of things that you can do on your text box. So what I want to do is a little bit advanced. So how do you do that event listener? So you add it to the item. You know that the name of the element is what to do. And then what I will do here is I'll do document dot get elements. We're already used to this. And what element do I want to get is the text box. I define it there. And the next thing is I call the add event listener. I need to change my laptop. Add event listener. My laptop is getting so slow. So add event listener. So what event do we want to add? Very important. What event do we want to add? We are adding key up, or key down, or key press. So let's use key down. We're adding key down. That's the event we want to add. And then what are we calling? What function are we calling? By the time we add this event, what function are we calling? So it's supposed to be function E. Explain. So this part here, add event listener. The event listener is what? Is key down. And then we wrap a query function into it. And what this one does is that you are passing what it will do into when you press the key down. So this is the parameter, this is the way you have to pass it. So it's like the format, a syntax in which you can pass it. That's why I was worried if E was not defined. So this E is the event that is taking place. So it's fixed. You can type event, you can type anything. And that's the same thing I'm passing to this. Notice that this is like a declaration we are creating, so we don't need to define it. We are creating a function. Remember when we were creating a function for the first time, this function, and we do a comma b. Notice that we didn't need to define a comma b. It's when we are using it, then you need to define what C and D should have been. So the same bread we are taking here. This is a function definition. We are creating a function. Within that function, we can then say, oh, okay, whatever this is, whenever the key down is pressed, pass it here and call this function. So let's give it a try and see what we have. Okay. I don't think this is part of our error. Let me refresh the page. Okay, that error was not part of our program. And by the way, when you have a browser, there's a lot of things that go on in the browser. As you can tell, I have like a lot of extensions. So when you hit your console here, when you come to the console section, you can see a whole lot of thing going on. If you check on your browser, you will see a lot of things going on. So sometimes it has to do with the app, sometimes it's doing something different entirely. Okay, let's see if everything works well. So immediately I press this value. What do you see? You see a result here. Let me press something else. So as you press, something is it's working, something is working, something is going on. As you put your key down, something is going on. So you can see there the way our result is changing. But this is not where we are going to. We just want to make sure that once we put a key down, something is happening. Remember what we are trying to achieve. We are trying to achieve that whenever a key is entered, enter key is pressed, it should give us a sign. So what we put to the console is to log what event that is going on. Very important. Let's now check and inspect what is in the event. What is in the event will allow us to know what to do next. Let's inspect the event. I will pop this out so that we can have a very good view of what's going on. So look at the event. Number one, this is in a so we have a lot of things going on. Look at the key that was pressed is K. In this case, we press K. There are several times where we press other things. This is a little bit advanced where you have meta key, location, key code. Each of the key has a code. So, but we'll focus on the key pressed. So let's press enter and see what will be registered. I'm just going to press enter key right now. I just pressed enter key and see what results we have. On pressing enter key, look at the key. Key says enter. And the code for enter is 13. So you have two things you can work with. You can either do key or key code. Let's just use key just to make our code look beautiful. So here, since we know all the parameters available in E, we can then say, before we get there, just to show you, we can then say, since we know the parameters available, we can do E.key. I think it's small letter key. We can do this, and let's check our code again to see what happened immediately we enter stuffs in there. So if we start typing, notice we're having those things showing. The keys that we're typing is showing there. So that is correct. So this parameter is what we need to be able to define what was entered. Let's now code something out. Let's now say if E.key is equal to, this is now a conditional statement, is equal to enter. Let's throw something out to the browser and say alert and say to do added, even though we've not added the to-do list. Let's just play with the browser this way and see what it does. Going back and refreshing the page, let's do that and say go to school and press enter. You can see that to do added. So we don't need to create external button. Once you just press enter button, it triggers. So that works for us, even though this is not what we want to achieve today. Now that you've been able to determine the key pressed, that is enter, you can then call on that function to add to your to-do list. Add to my to-do list. That's the function you want to call to add to your to-do list. What do you want to add to your to-do list is whatever is in the item that you want to add. So that's what will happen here. And what is in the item? Everything here. You can repeat the whole thing. Whatever the value is what you want to add. Dot value. Remember, add to my to-do list is not created. It's a function that we've not written yet. So let's just create a dummy function for it. And I will call this one item. What's in the inside is item. Okay, let's now go back and take a breath and look at the app that we've designed that is not complete yet. Whenever you have this and you press enter, what do you want it to do next? We want to have a place on the bottom where our item will be showing all the items that we've added. So we needed to create a new interface on the bottom to do this. Let's quickly create an interface on the bottom to do that. Where it will sit should be after where we have our text box. So I will have it sit right here. I will do mtop3. So I have just something nice that will look great there, and it's also coming from Bootstrap. It is called list group. list group, so it will look just nice. So let me show you on list group bootstrap so that you see it also yourself. So there are various forms of it, so you can Google. There are various forms. We'll just go with the simplest one so that we can all go and have a nice rest. So I have a very simple one here. I'll just copy what I have from the site. I want to look for something very fancy, not too fancy though. Okay, I have something like this. I'm just copying and paste from the site. This is easy UL, that's on ordered list, and item. Nothing special here. This is HTML, no coding. I'm not coding anything, just dumping HTML there. So let's look at how our interface is looking like. So this is what we have. So by default it will be blank. Then as you add your item, as you click enter, this place should be building up. That's the idea. It should be building up. So let's go and create a kind of section where all these things will stay. And I will just limit it to 1 and comment this one out. Or let me comment everything out. Before we go ahead, one of the major things we want to achieve in this into this lesson is array. The last time we did array, and we talked about the fact that we wanted to do, these are the things we wanted to do on array. We wanted to check up on all of these things in array. So what I want to do right now is to, before I go ahead and continue the app, I want us to load all the to do inside an array. I want us to load all the to do content inside an array. So let's do that. Remember that this is the function. Whenever the person press enter, this function will be called. So let's build our array here outside of it. It can be anywhere. It can even be at the bottom. So let's put our, but I think it's better on top. Well, since the function called later. So let's declare our to do here as an array. To do, and we make it an empty array. So by default it is blank. There's nothing inside. And remember we talked about how to add item to an array. So once the function comes here that you can add, that's what we'll do inside here. Then we do to do dot how do you add. Good thing from our IDE, it noticed that it's an array that is working with, so you can do all these things with an array, but we wanted to add things to the array. So I've seen push you use it to add, pop you use it to delete. So let's use push. Where's the push again? So let's use push. Where's that push? I saw the push again now. Okay, let's just type it. So we have our push. We can also look at the definition here of what push does. Add new element to the end of the array and returns the new one. So let's go ahead and do that. So what are we pushing? We just push this item inside. So let's see if this is working, right? And let's see if this is working. Let's go back to our app. Our app is here, and then we have our console on the left hand side, so that we see if what we are doing is working. Even though we didn't print it out, but I will just print it out myself. So I will say go to school. I press enter. Another thing again, immediately you press enter, we want it to clear. Very good to note, we want it to clear. But I've pressed enter now. I will delete it manually, and I will type another thing. Go to church. I've pressed enter now. So let's check. The way to check is just type your to do here. So immediately I type my to do, you can see the two things that we added are there. So we just figure out that immediately we press enter, it should clear our to do and allow us to capture something else. So at what point are we going to do that? Immediately our to do is pushed to the to do array, we should clear it. So how do we clear it? How do we clear that? Very easy. You just get the item like this, and we set the content to be blank. to be empty string. So let's give it a test again, even though we already know that this will work. So if we say go to school, you press enter, you can see that it has gone, but we're not seeing the result. If you come here to say to do, we should see one item there. Let's say go to school again, go to school, go to church, and then it has gone. To see what we have, once you come in here, you see that you have 2 items. But instead of us coming to see it here, we want to see it on this page. That is the purpose of what it is we are doing. Now we've been able to test one of the feature, which is push. The next thing we want to do is to be able to illustrate. I'll repeat that again, illustrate. I told you what illustrate means. Illustrate is to go through each of the item. You call it looping. So to go through all the items. So we need to be able to go through all these items one after the other. The first item, we'll go through it, we'll add it here. We go through the second item, we add it here. So we need to be able to do that. So let's look at what was the function that allows us to do that. So we go to our code and come here. By the way, this every also allows, but is for each is what I want us to look at, for each, because that makes it sound very easier. There are a lot of ways to illustrate through an item. One of the things you guys will understand about programming is that there's no one way to anything most of the time, depending on the programming language you are learning. JavaScript, you can do one thing a different way, like 10,000, well, I won't say 10,000 ways, but you can do it like different ways. There's an advantage to that and disadvantage to that. Disadvantage is that it's like you have so many routes to the market. You having so many routes to get to the market is, what if one of the routes is bad? But there will be some people that will be, hell bent on following that bad route. Whereas in some programming language, there's only one route to the market. There's advantage to that, meaning anything you want to do is straightforward. You don't need to, go through any other way. So what that means is that there are repetitive functions that do the same thing, So, but it's not really a bad thing, but it's just for you to know that, you don't need to know all the whole road to the market. Once you know one road and that road is working for you, you can stick to it and be consistent in what you are doing. Okay, so let's go to for each. Let's look at what for each does. For each is what we're going to use, and it's a member function. Mind you, it's a member function. So we're using for each. It's a member function. Okay, how do we go about this? Yeah, let's move. I want to go to the code. Our to do is here. Okay, so we have choice of where do we want to put this code. Like at the point whereby we've added the item, what do we want to do? We've cleared it. What do we want to do? You want to add the item to where? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself, because now I want to go through the item. Why do I want to go through the list of items? I want to go through the list so that I can assign the item to a place on the browser or on the web page, so it can sit where in a place on the web page. So I can then do, how do I illustrate through this push? Through this one, I come here to this member function. You can say for each, and when you're running for each, you have ability for you to use a callback function. And what that callback function does is that it allows you to call another function within that attribute. So that's what it allows you to do. Okay, so this is how to use this function. I'm about to define this function now. So using the IDE, you saw that it gave you option to use callback function. So, and then these are the parameters that you use. So follow me, I'm about to do something. So I do function this way. I hope this does not confuse you guys. Let me start again so that you guys can follow what it is. For each, allow you to use a callback function that has 3 parameters. Callback function is a way for you to write function in a function. So this is a callback, kind of a callback function. So I'm about to write this inside this. So I'm going to repeat the way you normally write a function, but this time around I'm not going to give it a name. I'm not going to say the function name is this, function name is that. I'm just going to write a function that requires me to pass two, or this time around it requires me to pass 3 arguments, and then inside the body of a function I can now do what I need to do. Go back to function definition and look at it again. This function allows me to pass 2 parameters, and I come inside. Instead of me now define the name of the function, I don't need to define the name of the function. I just do this and everybody should be good to go. So let's go ahead and do that. I come in here, I specify the parameter. There are 3 parameters required. I can specify the value, the index, and the array itself. We will talk about that. The value and the index. Remember when I was talking about array, I told you that there is 2 things on the array count, where the array is, and then the value. The array index is what tells you the position of the element in the array, while the value itself is what it is, what the array is holding. So that's why we have V for value, I for index. So I can just write it out so that it's more clearer. Somebody keeps sending us where do you need to start? Please just wait till the end of the stream. I'm gonna talk about it whilst ending the stream soon. At the end of the stream I'm gonna address you guys, but let me finish what I'm doing, so that let's just follow the app and build the app, then I'll tell you, I'll attend to your questions. Okay, so we then have the index. Definition again, the value is the value you are looping through in the array. You are going through the array one by one. The value is the value you are currently on, while the index is the position where you are in the array. And I'm going to show this to you. Now that you've done that, the next thing that is available for you to do is to put your curly braces, and this now forms your context, your block of code. So looking at, now that we have our block of code, what this allows us to do, I will log it outside. It allows you to be able to go through each of the value. Know that we have 2 values inside here, so I want to dump each of the value one after the other so that you see it. Console.log. The first value I want to dump out is, I want to say something. I want to say the value is, I'll plus it and put the value, right? And then I will say I'm in position index. So that way you see what is going on with array. So let's put that out and do a demo on that. So I have the first array, so hello, and look at what it says. The value is hello and I'm in position 0. Let me say another one, say go. It now says the value is hello, I'm in position 0. The value is go, I'm in position 1. Remember the way I told you guys about indexes. Index start from 0, 1, like that. So now that we've been able to go through the illustration and get each of the item, what do you want to do in the illustration? What we want to do in the illustration is to be able to assign each of the value to our group list here, which I will bring back. I commented it so that it will not disturb what we're doing. So this is where we want to add it. We want to add it here. So each time we press enter, it should loop through this and add the item here for us. You should clear it, add the item. I don't want to make things so complex. I will always clear it to add the item. Okay, so this is where we want to start adding our item. We need to give this a name because we want to be using this to add our item. So I call it, I think my screen has stopped showing. So this is where I will call it, I'll give this a name, and this becomes our to-do content. To-do content, to-do content. This is it. And our content, we want to be able to add list of items here. So I will delete this one. So it's what we add here that it will be here. Notice the way it is written, because this is the way we are going to capture our item. We have to write it like this when we are creating it, when we are adding it. So be mindful of this. Okay, so I come here. This is what I need to do content. So when going through the iteration, I want to be able to add into that. So how do I do that? I do get document dot get element by ID. In fact, let me first save it. Let me save what it is, because I'll be using it. So I will say let content is equal to that, so that I can come here and then be using my content as I wish, because I'll be doing a lot of things with it. By default, whatever I have, before I start looping each of them, I want to first clear the content. So I'll come outside here, set my content and clear it before I start anything. How do you clear it? You say inner. I've shown you guys inner HTML before. So I say inner HTML is equal to empty. What that does is that whenever you come to add my list, it first clears it and get ready to start adding whatever it sees inside the to-do variable. So now, how do I add append content here? So I do this content dot inner HTML is equal to whatever that I have there, add it with whatever I'm about to add now. Whatever I'm about to add now should be in this form. Remember, should be in this form. Should be in this form. It should not just be having a plain details. I will just put it like, it has to be like this. So I have to be able to use string manipulation and then be able to put the variable inside here. So let's go. I will just put my li and plus. I don't want to make it confusing, that's why I'm doing it gradually. Put my li plus this, then plus, and close my li. Remember that I need to put the class. Yeah, this is the class. So I put the class name, but we're going to have issue with these double quotes. I'll show you a way around it. So if I put that there, it's saying that there's issue with double quotes. So what I can do is change it to one quote, so that both quotes will live together, and I can close this guy properly with the normal quote. Okay, I think everybody should be happy now. This is good. We have our li starting tag, our value in between, and our li closing tag. So let me have it in a shorter form. What is happening here is that the content .inner HTML is going to be assigned back to itself, and then it will pass whatever value it is as a form of incremental value. So let's give it a try and see what we have. So I've refreshed the page, and yeah, okay, everything looks good. Let me say go to church. So we can see immediately our go to church came down. That's after pressing enter. So let's see the next thing I can put there. Go to school. Yeah, it's working well. Do other stuffs. So it looks as if we are doing good. A, B, C. So you can keep adding to your list. So this is your to-do app, and you can keep doing more. This is just the tip of what you can do. You can keep doing more. What I mean by doing more is the system has an ability for you to say, okay, you want to put a delete button here, you want to delete it, you can put delete button. You want to do a check button to say, okay, I'm done with this task, I'm done with this task, I'm done with, you can do that. we will not do that in this training. So this training is to show you, the whole purpose of this is to demonstrate for each, and not really, and also to give you the idea of how you could start things up. And I think from here we take questions. Thank you for staying to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on bell notification in order to be notified when we release new videos. See you in the next one.